We are here now on our second webinar under the umbrella of We Share for Leaders. If you would like to see the speaker, you could switch on the camera next to her microphone. So you could see the person who is speaking now. My name is Irena Georgieva, and I'll be the moderator this evening. Here in Intensivno.com virtual room, we meet, as I've already said, for the second time, and this time the webinar's topic is Daily Habits of Effective Leaders. And again, we will have the pleasure of to listen to our webinar speakers, Mariela Petrova and Sylvia Kis-Tomaszewska, two professionals with big experience in the corporate world. Before I give the floor to Mariela and Sylvia, I would like to tell you a few details in order to make you feel fully participating in the webinar. You could use the chat on your left to participate in the discussions, and the icons above to react on what you hear. You could ask questions during the webinar, and the speakers will answer them at the end. You could click the camera next to the speaker's microphone to see her, as you did with mine. And in the end, please give us a feedback answering few questions that you are going to see on your screens, because your opinion is important for us. And now I give the floor to Mariela and Sylvia. Please, ladies.
Okay, hello everybody and welcome to our webinar, Daily Habits of Effective Leaders. I'm really happy to be together with you today on this webinar under the umbrella of We Share for Leaders. My name is Mariela Petrova, and I want to introduce shortly myself. In the last 10 years, I have been coaching and mentoring a lot of people from all generations on various topics, and I also have been designing and deploying leadership development programs in our organization. My coaching and mentoring sessions were on topics around leadership development, communication, engagement, and agile. And what I found out is that I really love to share my experience and my knowledge with the people. This is how we ended up with our project, We Share for Leaders, which we are running together with Sylvia and Intensivno.com. And this webinar is part of our project, We Share for Leaders. I'm sure that the topic which we will cover today is a very broad one, and potentially we can talk for weeks or months on this topic. But the tips which we will share with you are very practical, and I strongly believe that we will have very good takeaways from this webinar. With that said, let me pass the word over to my colleague Sylvia.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. I'm pleased to have you here on today's webinar. And referring to what Mariela just said, let me just add that every topic we work on, including this one, is inspired by our own experiences. We know each other with Mariela for more than 10 years, and since then we educate others. This is really a fantastic journey we have together with Mariela, so thank you, Mariela, for that. And why actually this topic? We both know together with Mariela that this is extremely important to effectively plan your day and to have habits that are helping you to plan your day properly, especially when you have a demanding job, but not only then. So if you let me let's just move on to the next slide and take a look at our brief agenda, which is speaking what you will learn today. We will be speaking about what is the habit. We will be speaking about why we actually need daily habits, as well as we will be sharing with you how to develop habits. So now, if you please move to the next one, thank you. What is a habit? You can take a look at the brief description of Oxford Dictionary definition of what is a habit. And this definition is saying a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. I personally, though, prefer definition that Aristotle used. And this definition says, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Let's take a look at the types of the habits we may see in our lives. Please move on. We can see in our lives motor habits like running or walking. We do have as well intellectual habits like perception or thinking. And last but not least, we do have character habits like time management or hard work. And we will be speaking a lot about this last category of habits today. So now let's take a look at why we actually need habits. Let me start first with a question, or let me start first with a story that I'm sure that you remember when you were starting a job, or you are about to start a job right now. And I'm sure that you remember still this feeling, as I remember personally, when you were everything but not thinking about the effectiveness. You were thinking about actually getting the dots together and understanding the job tasks. Nevertheless, this is just the right time to start thinking about being effective. How to get there? One of the easiest way is to utilize more senior colleagues, to ask them actually, what do they do at work that is bringing effectiveness? The other thing that can help you to set the effectiveness right from the start is to build from your previous experiences that you either got from, let's say, university projects or from other job experiences, and you can implement them immediately at your new job. And last but not least is learning by doing. So when you practice, you will see what types of habits are helping you to put the right structure in your new daily job. And why I'm speaking about that? Because before I will tell you exactly why we need habits, I just want to raise awareness that it is extremely important to start thinking about effectiveness and about setting a structure at work from the very, very beginning. This is important for now and for your future and for the success in your career. So why we actually need habits? I will mention a few very important items that habits are helping us to go through. First of all, habits are helping us to save time. When we prepare ahead for a meeting or for an event, then definitely we'll feel much better when this meeting or event occurs. Habits as well are helping us to decrease the level of stress, because the more prepared we are, the better we feel and the more confidence we have in the activity we have to conduct. The other thing that habits are supporting us with is basically to become good at what we do. For example, when we do present more and more often in front of others, we become more and more skilled in this activity naturally. So think about the activity that you don't like, that you are not fond of, and actually start doing this activity more and more often, because this is going to help you to master this activity and become better on this one. So now let's move to the question that we have for today related to the habits. What other benefits of having habits you personally see? Benefits except those that I already mentioned, like time savings, like becoming good at what we do, like helping us to set the structure, etc. So what benefits you personally see? Please use the chat that you can see in front of yourself and share with us your personal experiences. let's spend a minute on this one. So please go ahead, don't be shy. Share what you believe is working, what other benefits you see personally, what habits you are using, and how they're helping you. This is going to be really very, very reachful and useful for the audience. Okay, so let's see, we can have the chat open for longer. Oh, thank you very much. Organize your day better. That's a very good one. Yeah, definitely. As I mentioned, the structure is very important. Yeah. Okay, thank you for this comment, and feel free to use the chat as I am going to give a word to Mariela, who is going to take you through the next part of this meeting. Thank you. Mariela, over to you.
Okay, we're going to spend some time with what habits we have at the start of the day, during the day, and at the end of our day. And what I realized for myself is that some of our habits we are doing without realizing that they even are part of our day. Some of the habits require our focus and our attention, and this very much depends how trained we are and how these habits are part of our blood and our organism. So let's now spend some time. What are our habits at start of the day? So do you have any habits? What are your habits when you start your day or in the morning? Do you have any habits at all? This can be something very simple, very practical, something which you love to do. Okay, so the chat is open, and of course you can type your answers in the chat. But I think that Sylvia is right, that breakfast is a must. It is very, very important to start your day with the breakfast. And I love what Alexander also is saying, to listen to a favorite song. It is definitely an energizing booster of the day. So I think that for if we move to the next slide, you will see that here we have listed the names of several popular people and what are their morning habits. For example, you see that they all have different morning energizers, including swimming, jogging, meditation, and for Richard Branson, it is even kite surfing. So Anneli is saying that she likes the coffee. So of course, Anneli, this is also a good energizer. I think that out of my own experience, I found out that we all have different stages in our life where we need to think what are our daily habits and are those habits helping us and supporting us. Potentially when we are young, we are not realizing the benefit of having few health habits for the day, but with the time and with the experience, we become more mindful and we start to realize that we need to do something for ourselves to help ourselves. I personally had periods where I was jumping from one extreme to another extreme. I was having like too many habits or none of the habits. And what I realized is that I'm really missing a consistency. So I think that the consistency really can help you to manage better your day and you can experience less stress. And the consistency doesn't mean that you should not change your habits. On contrary, you should change them if they're not aligned with your current needs. I will mention some of my morning habits, and they're really very human, very simple. I love to wake up early in the morning because I always like to have 30 minutes only for myself in a quiet space of my home. And I'm saying quiet because my neighbor is certainly a person who wakes up also early, and usually at 7 o'clock she starts to vacuum clean. So that's why I try to wake up before her and to enjoy 30 minutes, which are only for myself. So I drink water with lemon, and I do this not because it is poshy or it is fashionate, but I do it because I found out that it really energizes me and helps my body. And then I do a few exercises which help me to wake up a bit better. And of course, afterwards, I start the logistics of my day, like preparing my family for the school, then picking up all the stuff, going to school, and then comes the next step. I usually arrive in the office very early in the morning, between 7:30 and 8. So this means almost 1 hour and a half before the team has arrived. And this 1 hour and a half is really precious for me because I can revise my agenda. I can see if something changed during the night because we are working in international company and a lot of things can change during the night. And this also helps me to be prepared when the team comes to office and we should know already our priorities for the day. So Sylvie, do you have any habits at start of your day, something which you like?
Thank you, Mariela. Speaking of me, I am not definitely a morning person. I am a night person, and you know that, and I need minimum 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and I have to have breakfast. On top of that, I'm preparing some food that I take to the work with me. So during the day, I'm recharging my batteries and basically eat small portions of food. And on top of that, before I leave to the office, I check my agenda, and especially I check where I start the meeting, because we do have a couple of locations. So in order not to go to the wrong one, and as you know personally, it may change over the night, I am checking exactly where the meeting starts and when the meeting starts. And since I am commuting to work, so when I enter the car, I am making or taking calls, or if this is not necessary, I am listening to energetic music to set my mood right. Thank you.
Okay, great, Sylvie. Okay, so if we move to the part where we will talk about during your day. So here I want to share with you a few suggestions on how you can plan your day, what you can do to improve your productivity and efficiency during the day. And potentially you are doing some of these things, but potentially you are not realizing that you're doing it. So the first thing I would recommend you is to identify your most productive hours. And we all have such hours. For example, for myself, I have found out that I'm very much creative in the afternoon. So if I need to do some creative work, I always try to do it in these hours because then I know I can get the full capacity and the full creativity out of myself. I always allow also the so-called unscheduled time in my agenda. So these are hours where I can put something which comes suddenly, which is not planned, which is not on the table, but which really plans me to think, react, and write. This is how I call it. For me, it's also very important to set the priorities for the day. And here what I want to advise you is that quite often we have the habit to look at the things which are not done. But I strongly recommend you also to pay attention to the things which you have accomplished, because this will really give you a great sense that you did something well, that you are on the right track, that you actually should be even proud of what you are doing and what you have accomplished in your day. Also, in my calendar, I always incorporate my daily engagements. So things like parents' meetings, special events for my kids, doctor visits, and so on, because this always helps me to avoid conflicts where, for example, my manager wants to have a meeting with me, and at that time I know that I need to go on a parents' meeting. Of course, sometimes I need to make choices. It's not always possible to avoid conflicts, but I would say that in 80 to 90% of the cases, I'm really avoiding conflicts between my personal priorities and my work priorities. It also helps me a lot to prepare my day, I would say myself for the week up front. So every Friday, I usually print my calendar for the week which is coming up front. And I spent some time to see which are the most important events which will happen in this week. Especially I pay focus to the things where I need to prepare myself, also to assess how much time I need to prepare, whether I need to involve somebody else. But having mentally set myself for the week really helps me to stay focused, to stay centered, and also I release the burden out of my shoulders when the weekend starts. It is also very important during the day to take a rest, and a lot of companies started to practice the so-called mindfulness. I think it's very popular nowadays. But the mindfulness is something which we can do really with simple approaches. And one of these is, for example, every 2-3 hours or 1-2 hours, just disconnect from what you're doing, and for 2-3 minutes, simply start to observe or to listen to the noises which you hear around you. Like simply listen to the noises, nothing else. So this will really help your mind to refresh, to disconnect, and to have few seconds where you can gain your energy back. And the last thing which I will recommend you and which I do for myself is always to block time in my calendar for learning, for time where I will learn new skills, where I will read an article which is connected with my job or with my interests. So I'm trying to stay aligned with the new trends, and this is really very important to find time where we can educate ourselves and develop our skills and capabilities. So I want again to turn over to Sylvie and ask whether she can recommend us something else in this area.
Thank you, Mariela. Fantastic repository of the things you mentioned. I definitely have to come back to what you said and emphasize that timing for yourself and timing for learning is really critical. So I would recommend to the audience to definitely implement this as a habit. It does not have to be a long period of time for yourself. As Mariela mentioned, a couple of minutes that you just spend with yourself and focus, as well as in regards to the learning. It's extremely important that you have a habit in that. If you will set a habit of 30 minutes a week that you spend for learning of your choice, that's already fantastic. And today, being on this webinar, I really praise you for it, that you spend an hour or so and you do something for yourself. So please do it on a regular basis. And coming back to me and to add what I do, I usually during the day, in the middle of the day, I take a walk around the floor. We do have an open space, so I walk around the floor and speak to employees. I truly believe it's extremely important activity. So I check how they are doing. I have the opportunity to build relationships, and last but not least, I can help them if there is some quick fix needed. So that would be probably the major one I do on the top of what you mentioned, Mariela. Over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sylvie. Okay, so if we move now to the following topic, which is what happens at the end of our day and what recommendations I can give you here. Irene, can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, so at the end of our day, I think that it is very important at the end of our day to give us a break. And we all need a time to unwind properly so that we avoid the so-called burnout. And one of the things which I can recommend you is to set clear boundaries between the work and between your personal life. I know it's not always possible. Quite often we work with our families together, or we want to share with our husband, wife, or friends events which happened during the day in our work. The point here is to stay away from the poisoned emotions like frustration, anger, because this has nothing to do with our family, and we should not transfer it to the people which we love. So I think that it's also very important to, whenever possible, when I say disconnect, I mean when you are with your family, really to be with your family. So I used to have managers who, for example, were leaving office at 5 o'clock because they wanted to spend their evening with their kids and with their family. But they were, let's say, connecting back to their computers at 8 p.m. and still accomplishing the things which they had to do for the day. But these 3 hours were precious for their kids and for their families. So this is also a way to set the boundaries. The other thing which I can recommend you is to write a journal. And I know that quite often it's, I would say, not something which comes natural, which is authentic, which is intuitive. So if this is not your way, don't do it. But at minimum, before you go to sleep, recall 2-3 things which are positive, which you like for the day which is gone, which you, I would say, for which you're thankful. And I think that falling asleep and recalling these things really will give some positive energy for your body to recharge. And the last thing which I can recommend you is always to do one thing for pleasure at the end of the day. What it means. I personally take care about my family alone, and it took me a while really to teach my kids that as a mother, I also need some private time. This time really comes after all the logistics for the dinner are done, but I fight for this time. I know that I need 30 minutes, which will be only for myself. And in these 30 minutes, I can just listen to some music, which I like, or I can just go out and do a short walk around the place where I live. Or I can do some meditation where I had really the feeling that I want to do a meditation. I don't want to do it forcefully just because everybody speaks that meditation is good for our bodies and for our minds. But I always try to do something personally for myself in these 30 minutes. And then I'm with recharged battery. So I can again connect with my kids. We can play some games. Usually we love to play Monopoly, or we can watch some TV. We share, experiences from the day, or we plan some day. So this is something which is really part of my end of the day. So again, back to Sylvie. Anything else which you want to add here, Sylvie?
Thank you, Mariela. Yes, the end of the day arrives, and there is a lot of on our head. So, what is happening to me usually at the end of the day? As you heard earlier, I'm commuting to work. I'm driving, so I'm driving back home, and I'm usually thinking about what happened that day. Anything I need to add to the agenda for the next day or for the week? Anything I have to change or learn from? Often some ideas are coming to my mind. So when I arrive home, I really run immediately to write them down so they are not forgotten. Then, as you said, I really try not to work or focus on work activities, but rather to spend time with my family, mostly by having a meal together, chatting about what happened that day, and just relaxing. And in regards to what you said about the 30 or 20 minutes for yourself, I love to read books. So I really try to do that every single day. Sometimes I have a few books that I am reading at the very same time. So I read one chapter from one book and one chapter from another. But with that, I really have the habit of doing something for myself again. So that would be probably all in terms of, or the majority of what I do when the day is ended. And I would like to give a word back to you, Mariela.
Okay, so now let's spend some time on how we can develop new habits. And here we want to suggest you several approaches. If we can move to the next slide. Okay, So first, of course, we need to be aware where we are. Like, what are our habits which we have today? What is the situation which we experience today? And one of the ways to do this is via the KISS approach: keep, improve, start, stop. So you can build these 4 quadrants, and in each quadrant you can put the habits which you currently have, like the ones which you want to keep because either you like them, you feel better with them, you're used to them. The ones which you want to improve, either from being more consistent, or let's say you want really to do better. The ones which you want to start doing, and the ones which you want to stop doing. And then when you have this repository and awareness where you are today, you can pick up one from each of these quadrants and really start to change it, to improve it, to build it. And we want to suggest you the approach of James Clear, which I personally like because it is very simple on how you can build a new habit. The first step which James Clear is suggesting is to start with an incredibly small habit. What it means? Habit is like a muscle, means that we need to train it. But quite often we are saying that we don't have motivation, or we just need a little bit more motivation, and that's why we are not starting with this habit. And according to the Stanford professor B.J. Fogg, the motivation has ups and downs, and he calls this the motivation wave. So what James is suggesting here is that we should start with such an easy habit that we simply should not need the motivation. So for example, if you want to start meditating 10 minutes every day, instead of starting with 10 minutes, start with 2-3 minutes so that you experience the feeling of meditating. And then with the time, you can increase these 2-3 minutes to the 10 minutes which you need. And this is what James is suggesting in his second bullet: increase your habit in very small ways. So he's saying that, instead of trying to start with something very big from the very beginning, we should start small and gradually improve with the time. As a third step, he's suggesting that as we build up, we should break the habits into small chunks. What it means? So, for example, if we want to, to do 50 push-ups for the day, instead of doing all these 50 push-ups all together, we can split them on 2 parts, 25 in the morning, 25 in the evening. So we still are doing the 50 push-ups, but we just split them during the day so that we potentially are more flexible to accommodate these 50 push-ups. And the last one is, when you sleep, get back and track quickly. What it means? It means that even the best performers have, I would say, days where they're not doing well, but they're best performers because they get on track quite quickly. And James Clear is saying that research has shown that missing your habit once, no matter when it occurs, has no measurable impact on your long-term progress as long as you get back on track. So, for example, I told you that, or I shared with you that every morning I wake up early and I do some exercises. But I admit I have mornings where I cannot wake up that early and I'm not doing exercises. But I don't instill guiltiness in myself, and I don't feel bad that I didn't do my exercises. What I'm trying to do is to get back on track on the next day so that I quickly go back on track. And here I also want to mention very, very quickly one Japanese methodology, which is called Kaizen. Kai means change, Zen means good. And what Kaizen is suggesting is that if we want to accomplish something which we really want to do, or for example, something which we all the time postpone because we don't like it, we should plan every 2-3 hours, 10 minutes for this activity only. And they're giving as example something very popular. So for example, if you want to lose weight, they're saying that every 2-3 hours you should spend 10 minutes on losing weight. What it means? You can, for example, climb the stairs. You can make a fresh juice for yourself. You can decide to meditate. You can decide just to listen to a song so that you energize yourself. This is also part of the process of losing weight. So I think that Kaizen is also a very practical approach which really can help you to accomplish a lot of things which you even don't like in your life. And with that said, I think we are done with this part of our content. So let's move to the next slide. Okay, here we are offering you some readings and resources. And I would like to point to the last bullet, which is the Harvard Business Review survey. Rennie already posted the link to this Harvard Business Review survey. And I want to give the word to Sylvie to tell you a bit more about this survey.
Thank you, Marilla. This survey is a very useful tool that can help you to build your habits, because this is focuses on listing the habits or activities that you are spending the most time today with, and helping you to focus on the activities that you actually want to spend your time with. So with that, I would like to encourage you to definitely get there, get online, do this course for yourself and see how you can actually invest your time differently to the activities of your choice.
Okay, so thank you, Sylvie. I think that that's all from our side on the content on the topic. We, healthy, effective leaders, habits of effective leaders. So if you have any questions now to us, you can raise them in the chat. It's a good question. What is the worst habit a leader might have? I will answer in following way. Not to be in control of his or her emotions. And because this has very negative impact on the people with whom you work, and it comes back to you like a boomerang. So I personally, when, of course, we cannot escape to have the so-called bad days or bad emotions, but at least try to find a way to tell the people that this is simply not your day. So everybody is, of course, human. Everybody can understand you, but don't try to put your emotions on the people.
Adding to that, I would like to say that probably one of the worst bad habit I recognized in my former leader was that he was forgetting about the basic etiquette. So he was not greeting people in the morning. He was not saying hello when he was entering the office, and it really bothered me. And it bothered me to such a scale that was at one point of the time, even though I was just starting in the company, I just needed to tell this person that this has to change. And despite of the fact that I was afraid as hell, it had a positive effect. Nevertheless, it was one of the bad habits I observed in the leaders I have been working with.
Anelia, you're right. I talk about bad emotions, like when you're frustrated or you're angry or you have, for example, some worries at home. So it's really about the bad emotions, not the emotions in general. I think it's very healthy to, to smile, to use humor in your work. really to use different approaches to connect with your people. So it's really about the bad emotions.
Thank you for the next question. I am seeing in the chat, what is the most important must habit that a good leader must have? I would answer it in a way that I would say it's a repository of habits around communication. I cannot imagine a good leader who is not really communicating with his team, who is not listening to his team, who is not having the time for his team actually to conduct communication. So I would say that communication and the communication in the right manner and in the right portion with the team is the key to achieve success with the team.
Okay, great. So, do we have any other questions? Okay, so we are almost at the end of our webinar, and we want to announce our next the topic of our next webinar, which is being a boss: key success factors. And me, myself, and Sylvie, we have been managers for many years. Of course, in a corporate world, but doesn't mean that we don't have also other experience. So we want to share with you really what are the key success factors to be successful in such role. And it's about managing upward. It's about how you can manage your boss, how you can manage your team, and which are really the key success factors so that you are known as a good manager. We also want to give for the participants on our webinar some special award. At least for the ones who join. And Anelia, I think Anelia Christova, you are the winner because we want to offer you, of course, with your agreement, we want to offer you 30 minutes free mentoring session with myself and Sylvia on a topic which you can select. Of course, can be a free discussion. If you want, we can connect via Zoom. Your contacts can be provided to us. Of course, if you're in agreement via Intensivno, we will connect with you and we will agree the details of our free mentoring session. So, Sylvie, if you want to add something from your side?
Yes, definitely. I would love to add something. I would like to say congratulations, Analia. And I do believe that you are going to say yes to this fantastic offer that Mariela just mentioned. And together with Mariela, we will be looking forward to hearing you soon with the topic of your choice. So I'm just very excited about this one. And I look forward to get to know you better and to hear from you very quickly. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Sylvie, and thank you very much for all the people who participated on our webinar, and of course also to the people who support us today, intensivno.com.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. Thank you very much, Mariela.